I'm also the author of Growing Up Laughing with Eddie Murphy. Eddie and I grew up basically in the same house together. That's what the book is about. It's about our childhood adventures. Uh, you know, I know extensively Eddie, but the book is just about our childhood adventures, us growing up together or whatever, and what we did on a day-to-day basis, basically to get to where we are right now. We just try to keep it moving, man. We just try to keep it positive and try to be a positive influence. That's what we're trying to do with hip-hop biographies. We're trying to put a positive spin on hip-hop. We're trying to show, the brothers and young brothers coming up and your young sisters that, they can take it off the street corners and take it into the boardroom, because that's where we're going. Obama did it for us, yes, we can, yes, we did. So now we're trying to take that and expand on that, you know what I'm saying? And go into the boardrooms and make deals and move things, you know what I'm saying? Because we can do that. Out of me, Eddie, and Charlie, and Vernon. I'm the oldest, so I was the one that first ventured into it. I started the radio station at my high school, WHHH at Hempstead High School in Hempstead, Long Island. And then what we did was we started doing like the talent shows for the radio station. We'd have a talent show every year. So I got my experience on stage by having to host the talent shows. And then, all the bands were amateurs, so they had to set their bands up and then, take down the other bands. And that would take, a long time because people really didn't know what they was doing. So we had to like fill that time. Those talent shows would take 6 to 7 hours. So, during the time of setup and takedowns, I would have to come out and, keep the audience warm by, entertaining them. And so that's how it really got started. And then Eddie saw that, and, we all got interested in, being before crowds or whatever. And it kind of took off from there. Well, growing up with Eddie and Charlie, it was like we were all funny. And, what we used to do was we would like have competition amongst ourselves to see who could be the funniest. So that's basically how that went. We would, just sit around and imitate TV shows and, different skits and stuff like that to see who could imitate people the best. We would do everything from, sing the latest songs, see who could be the best singer, to see who could imitate, the latest TV show, George Jefferson or whoever happened to be on at the time. And, and that's basically how it went. I don't ask Eddie for anything. I got my own career, he's got his own career. My whole career was built on the fact that he never made a phone call for me. We had an instance where Uncle Ray got put on and he got to go do the Tonight Show because of his connection with Eddie. And he wasn't funny. And one of the comedians, Marshall Warfield, made a career of talking about Uncle Ray, how, anybody can get famous if they related to Eddie Murphy. So, that's one thing that I didn't want. I have my own talent. I don't make, calls to anybody to do anything for me. I do it on my own merit. At this particular point, I'm not in contact with either of them that much because we're all doing our own thing. And, to be honest with you, when you have so tight of an association, I think that's kind of what's hurting Charlie's career more than anything else, is that he's too tightly associated with Eddie. And I think everybody's trying to like break out on their own and try to branch out on their own to create their own identity, because that's actually what's needed. How I got to write the George Forman movie was I had wrote the book Growing Up Laughing with Eddie Murphy, and before that I actually managed a super middleweight world champion. And I got to know a lot of people in boxing, working through Don King, and actually Carl King is one of my partners. And through that, Roy Forman, who managed George, saw the book and read it and thought it was very good. And he contacted me one day and he was like, hey, man, listen, I think that, we want to do a story on George and we're looking for somebody to write it. Would you be interested? And I said, would I? So, we got together at a fight party in Atlantic City about 3 years ago. And we talked over the particulars and we made an arrangement, and the rest was history. I sat down and wrote the movie with Chris Frederick, who's the program director for Telecare. That's the network for the Archdiocese in New York. And he's the senior vice president of Harris State Productions. So we got together and we wrote the screenplay, and now it's done and it's currently being shot. President of program development for a new black network coming out next year, Simply Me TV. I'm also the CEO of a new DVD series coming out, Hip Hop Biographies. Also Hip Hop Underground Legends, which is part of Hip Hop Biographies. Just got finished doing the George Forman movie, which we're shopping right now. And you know, we're just trying to keep it moving, trying to do a little something with Will Smith. We just did a screenplay for him. To do the George Forman movie, we had to do a lot of research. It was a lot of interviews that had to go on. As a matter of fact, for the first like 3 months of the project, I had to go to Atlantic City every weekend and spend the whole weekend with his brother Roy in Atlantic City, just going over pictures and articles and, you know, interviewing him and taking notes or whatever before we even got to the phase of talking to everybody else to put this together. It was a tremendous undertaking. George's career and life has spanned over like 4 decades. So the screenplay is like 300 pages. So it's a humongous effort. It took us 2 years to write it. We had a couple of offers for the screenplay, but the deal has to be right. And before we'll take the deal, it has to be right. And that's just the way it is. So we keep it moving. The script was seen by George. And they love it. It's just a matter of money, and that's you know what we talked about earlier. That, you know, if the finances are right, if somebody wants to really do it, and they want to really, you know, do it the way we need it to be done, then, you know, it'll happen. I just want to give a shout out to Power DVD, you know, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to their audience. You know, we're going to try to keep it moving. We're going to try to do some things together. You know, I invite Power DVD to come on in and work with hip-hop biographies to make this thing right. What we want to do is we want to use hip-hop in a positive manner and give back to the community.
I'm from NEW Jersey, where many murders occur. I'm buzzing, puffing my herb. No, you don't want to disturb her. From the state where niggas sling on the curb. Rocks and wheat in the hood, white and E in the birds. Gang banging is here, the mob bosses was first. Police forces the worst.